If there's one company that doesn't need any introduction, it's our presenting partner, McKinsey. In this panel discussion, they are joined by industry experts to explore the transformative impact of Gen AI on insurance business operations, highlighting both the challenges and the opportunities. They'll dive into cutting-edge AI applications that streamline processes, enhance decision-making, and improve customer interactions, boosting productivity. Please welcome McKinsey.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here. So, as per the introduction, we want to talk about a topic and continue the dialogue on how AI and technology will transform this industry. We all know there is a lot to come in the next years and also decades in insurance and beyond. We heard, and I hope you had some inspiration also by the organizers' intro video on the film Her, that describes a bit like what's already possible today, then potentially also by my colleagues talking about the massive opportunity we are seeing, especially if you compare it to other industries that are a bit ahead on the productivity curve, while, for example, insurance is a bit more flat if you look into unit productivities. At the same time, however, we do see massive challenges in bringing this opportunity into tangible results. And this is bottom line impact, but this is at the same time also growth, customer experience, employee experience, with some insurance companies having by now more pilots than an airline. So today, this is why we want to talk about 4 topics. First, where do we stand as an industry today on the AI and tech transformation? Second, where do the opportunities lie along the value chain? Third, what is actually the target picture if we look to the end of this decade and potentially beyond? And finally, what is required to finally make it happen? And to do this, I have 3 wonderful guests with me here on stage. Thank you, Tsubasa, Susanne, and Gijsbert. So, Susanne, who is COO at Allianz Benelux, the regional entity of the global industry leader, Allianz. Susanne, you have a vast set of experience over the last 3 decades, coming from fashion and retail to banking to finally insurance. And you also have seen the full value chain, so coming from marketing, sales, operations, IT. And what I admire a lot, you're truly passionate about transforming this industry. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Tsubasa, who is head of EMEA and APAC at Tractable, InsurTech, who is leading in claims with applying computer vision to the claims process to really create some efficiencies and also benefit for the customer. And Tsubasa, you have a background of coming from Asia, working there also 10, 15 years, and now from London, you basically steer 2 continents on B2B, on your B2B solutions. So looking forward to your global expert.
Thanks.
And last but not least, Gijsbert, thanks for being here. You are also head of EMEA and APAC, but at Appian, one of the leaders of bringing efficiency into the processes, leveraging their AI platform with workflow management and case management to really get efficiency into the insurance processes. And you have vast experience of having working in insurance now for quite some time, but also in other tech roles. So looking forward to your insights.
Me too.
So thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Let's start. So, as you know, research shows that insurance is a bit behind in terms of the overall AI, Gen AI, digital transformation compared to other industries. And that might partially also because we are a big industry with a lot of large players, and it's still a good industry. We don't suffer from challenges like others actually have, so we might not always feel the full pressure to transform. But Susanne, tapping into your expertise, what's your perspective on where do we stand as an industry on this transformation now, and especially when you compare it also to the other industries you know?
Okay, so I actually joined in the insurance industry from 2010. And having worked 10 years in retail, leisure, I would say faster moving industries that are very, very focused on the customers, it was a bit of a shock. Because fundamentally, the product is obviously very much led by the actuarial development. And I really found that when I entered in, I needed to deeply get into the back of the industry to really understand how to steer proficiently the front. Now, if we look at what's happened in fashion, for example, the retail industry in the last previous years, they've had a complete collapse of the high street. They've had to really focus on digitalization. And their speed of adopting Gen AI has been so rapid, along with gaming as well. Now, of course, they're not regulated like we are. They're not having to deal with some of our legacy issues. But what I do appreciate from the retail industry that I think is super important for us to keep on remembering is that the customer journey and the personalization, this is what customers are used to consuming all the time. I think the insurance industry in the last 10 years has had some phenomenal development. Some of it's worked, some of it hasn't. I'll discuss that in my presentation straight after this. But I think that we need to really pull forward and use Gen AI to start to build the operating model efficiency from the back end of the business to the personalization of the front end of the business. It's clear that customers are still not fully digital. We do need our agents and brokers. They need efficiency, but we need to bring that personalization, that data scraping, to really enforce our efficiency on our products that are customer life stage driven, because currently I still see quite a gap there. And I think as the next generation comes, they're not going to be as forgiving and necessarily want to listen to the agent and broker. So I think we've got a window of 10 or 15 years to close this gap and really ensure our distribution model really fits to what our customers want. Yet we've optimized our back end from the actuarial data scraping and use forward-looking models to optimize.
Tsubasa, how do you see the situation? Especially, I mean, you have the global view, and there is a lot of debate in tech whether Europe is behind or clearly behind US in the overall tech world. Does that hold true also for insurance, or is it rather differences between players? What's your view?
Yeah, thanks, Christian. So speaking of motor claim and property claim where we focus, actually, I don't see a big difference by region. Maybe there might be some difference by country, but not by the region level. It's actually the significant differences between the leading players and followers within the specific countries. And let me explain why. For DX for claim process, it's not just about transforming your own organization. It's also about transforming all stakeholders, such as policyholders, agents, or road service, or call centers, or even repairers. Normally, this level of ecosystem level transformation requires strong leadership by the leading insurers. That's probably why we see the big difference between the leading players versus followers.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. Now let's look a bit into where the opportunity is. Gijsbert, from your experience, where would you see actually the Gen AI opportunity in our industry?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of talk about it, and it's clearly some people would classify it as a hype, but it's there, right? It's genuine, and I know some CEOs from a big insurance company told me the other day. Said, "Thank God we're talking about AI now because I don't have to talk about blockchain anymore." But it's real, right? It's not only talk. I mean, there's a lot of prototyping happening already, and this morning we saw some showcases from real things that are. I think this year it's actually a lot of insurers are putting it into practice already. So there's no way to stay behind, right? And I was talking to another insurance company that kept all the AI prototyping very central, but actually there's so much pressure from globally from all the regions saying we need it now, that it's almost like a revolution happening, right? I mean, people have it on their phone, they're using it at their home. If they are blocked off of ChatGPT, they do use it at home to create something. Their kids are using it. So there's a lot of opportunity. And if you look at, for example, hone in on underwriting or claims underwriting, if you look at underwriters, they're spending like 40 or 50% of their time especially in complex insurance, on mundane tasks like admin, copy pasting,
Exactly, yeah.
looking at Excels. I mean, you're paying a very expensive individual, highly educated, on underwriting, and they're looking at Excels and copy and pasting. It's terrible, right? And then think about the pressure on the market that I think this morning was said as well that the baby boomers are leaving the industry. There's a lot of brain drain happening. You need to find good people. I mean, let's face it, insurance is not a sexy industry. You need to find these people to get into your organization and tell them how great it is. And if you show them like 6, 7 different screens that they need to open to do some underwriting, it's not really great. So you need to support them. Underwriting is a big opportunity, as I said, 30–50% of efficiency can be gained there, but also claims. I mean, complex claims handling, same experience. So I think there's lots of opportunity, and I think you need to start now. The technology is there, but it's more than just technology, I think.
Yeah,
absolutely, and we will talk about it. Susanne, from your work at Allianz, how do you see it? What are the key initiatives you are driving? How does it relate to also what Gijsbert was saying?
well, I couldn't agree more, firstly. We'll talk about this more in the presentation. You should join me on stage. But
I will.
I think if you go through the end-to-end model, there's so much wastage. The productivity opportunity is massive. I mean, if someone is touching something 3 times, already that's ripe from my perspective to simplify and start looking at automation. And if you see how the industry is still coping with legacy, I mean, it's still out there that our workers or workers in other insurance companies are still having to match, 9 times over to get one policy followed through. It's ridiculous. So Gen AI gives you an opportunity to bridge that gap. I don't think we're at the involvement that it's a standalone solution. It needs to work with the human workforce, right? But I think it's ripe, and where we're focusing right now is taking chunks out of our operating model that we can automate. And we're being very, very strict and rigid on this. And we're running a total end-to-end transformation program. It's not particularly comfortable, I would say, for the team. But the reason why we're running it end-to-end, and along with not only changing the operating model, we're challenging the culture and actually going top-down and bottom-up and forcing people to think, what can we simplify, deduplicate, automate, offshore, is that if you don't attack it as one end-to-end operating model, you don't shift enough. We started looking in the operations department, but we're so much feeding the rest of the business that unless we went end-to-end, we weren't going to get the benefit. So we've been doing AI for quite a while now, and we're bringing in, for example, on our mid-corp workbench, we're aggregating unstructured data. We've taken an analysis process that would normally be 4 hours down to around 15 minutes. So from a productivity perspective, that's massive. But of course, what we need to do is expand that across all the areas of our business. Particularly when I'm looking at all the call center, at the end of the day, we need to understand what part of the journey needs to remain human, because there's definitely bits that we need to remain human. And what is just repetitive, unnecessary, and absolutely should be automated. And what we're trying to do with the confidence of our staff is say, this doesn't mean that you're then removed from the business. We need to upscale you, we need to retrain you. There are going to be areas where we need new blood, let's face it. But we want everyone to feel as though they have the understanding, and everyone is being put through data training just so they start to feel comfortable and they start to play with it. Because ultimately they're with the problems every day. And we've actually given on-the-floor budget where we say you've got a certain amount of budget you can make on-the-floor decisions for productivity. And we've got a whole aim of 35% productivity per different area of the LOB. So we've really structured an end-to-end program to make the shift and lift, because there's no other way we're going to move quick enough.
Thank you for your views. So let's keeping that in mind, let's look a bit ahead. Where do we think we can get to by end of this decade or even beyond? I mean, a lot of talk has been made about the digital disruption, like when we go like 10 years back, which did not really happen, or even before with the death of the physical sales force. Aren't we now facing more revolution of more a bit the back end? So Tsubasa, how do you see the vision of an AI-driven insurer, especially on claims?
Thanks. So looking toward 2030 and beyond, one of the biggest challenges of P&C insurers will be how to deal with the climate change, more specifically, how to provide the service in a profitable manner. For example, in Japan, where I'm from, for property insurance, Japanese insurance have never been profitable for the last 10 years due to the more frequent typhoon and more severe typhoon.
Yeah.
And to address this issue, we started a project with leading insurers about 3 years ago to ask homeowner or agent to take photo of the damage after typhoon. And using the computer vision AI and our internal expert, we generate the estimate. And to do that, insurance can significantly optimize repair cost. But in addition to that, the payout cycle time have been shortened from months to days. And last year, we processed over 1,000 claims, and this year we are expecting more. But we realized that claim is not enough to contribute in profitability. So this year we started underwriting solution in the similar manner. So at the moment of underwriting, we ask either agent or homeowner to take photo of the property or home. Then we assess the condition of the house. And together with the data from underwriting and the data from claim, we better assess the risk and also loss prevention. This is probably just one example, but I foresee stronger collaboration between underwriting department and the claim department for more granular risk assessment and for loss prevention.
So the value chain will be ever more connected. Gijsbert, how do you see that on when we look into operations?
Yeah.
Will we also see like 80-90% of customer interactions being done by Gen AI in the near-term future?
Could be, but it depends on which line of business you're in. I think we talk about the technology, and there's a lot of things actually can happen now with technology, and then, but we also, as you also said, it insurance is quite a regulated market, so you also need to think about what are the guardrails of how I should implement this in my organization. Yes, I mean there are already examples of Gen AI or AI used for underwriting, also in a lead fashion. I think a famous insurance company in the UK is doing that. We saw this morning our customer DAS on stage and how to process complex legal claims, which is fantastic, and that's helping them. How you then use that efficiency that you find, how do you use that in your organization is another matter, right? I think for the moment, everybody's still looking for people, and they're struggling to handle the work because it's getting more and more complex, right? Claims getting more complex, risks are getting more complex. It's not a cost-cutting exercise per se, not on the contrary. Actually, it's like, oh God, I need help now, right? Also, so I would think the initial efficiency that you asked for, like where has it used? I think it's about you can do a lot of things like retraining people, more customer focused, get more fashionable maybe, right? Beat your competition, be more emotional, empathetic to your customer, be more in control, right, of your risk. Adjust the pricing accordingly, be more forward-looking underwriting. There's so much that needs to be done now. So I think that's where the efficiency is, and that you'll see that back in the expense ratio and the loss ratio, right? But that's where I see the benefit. It's not just like, oh, we lose half of the people or something, if you're alluding to that, I don't know. But
No. I fully agree with your views. At the same time, I think, and I think you share my views, and probably most of the people in the room do as well, making it happen is very difficult, right? So there have been transformation programs before. There were a lot of things getting stuck or even failing at all. Susanne, you said you are currently running a program. What do you think is really required to unlock this potential, and what's maybe also different versus 5, 10 years ago?
So, well, firstly, your story is music to my ears because not only are you stabilizing, I mean, it's a very difficult situation if you're a country under real, climate change impact, right? You've got to be profitable at the same time. You still have to serve your community, society, and if the government is not stepping in, then you can't be left alone with it. I also agree, our program is not about cutting out people. How I see it is about future-proofing our business. And what I think is critically important is the whole concept of adoption of the transformation starts from the top. If you don't challenge yourself what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years and start plotting out and getting people used and familiar to reinvesting, retraining, you are on a downward spiral. And the presentation I'll do in a bit looks at the last 10 years, and what I really see is if the leaders are not getting conversed with this and being uncomfortable with it, because if you're not uncomfortable, you're not at the right level, because this is quite uncomfortable stuff to do. But the reality is that the shareholder demand gets tighter and tighter. The need from society is growing. Is the trust growing in line with the shareholder demand, the pressure on costs, and the consumption from customers? No. I truly believe that insurance, we just had this debate, should be much more embedded. I think that it should be customer life stage driven. I'm a strong believer on CLTV, on really understanding that consumers have different parts of their life that need to be answered. We shouldn't be pushing products that are filled with riders, that actually, because we're in different LOB leads, we don't care that we've just maybe cross-sold 3 riders because the customers bought travel insurance, personal home insurance, and maybe personal liability, and there are definitely rider crossovers there. But the only way to get there is huge data scraping and integration of understanding how risk, life, and forward-looking models work. And that's a big step, I get that. But if we don't take baby steps, we're never going to take the big step. And what I'm hearing from you is you were forced, because of the pressure on the market, to say, God, we have to do something, right? Because if we don't start amalgamating our data with the knowledge, getting the preciseness on the risk, by the way, that must have made the customer journey a hell of a lot easier, just taking photographs, thank you very much, rather than being asked, what type of your material is your roof? Most people don't know, right? And that's what I mean about getting more customer-centric with our actuarial model and allowing Gen AI to be that backup, because there is a gap between the need from an actuarial perspective and the knowledge and will and want from the customer.
Agree to that. Tsubasa, what would you add to that? Also, like, you've seen a lot of transformations, like smaller, bigger ones. What's the balance between the tech element and also the people element in making it happen?
Yeah. So tech element is more like must and requirements, more specifically flexible IT infrastructure for API integration is must. Without that, even if the team project member is really strong or top management is committed, the chance of success is very low, unfortunately. But assuming that tech is not the bottleneck, it's actually the differentiator is the people aspect, such as who is leading the change, what is the commitment level of the executives.
We're smiling from experience here, yes.
But is there any process enabling cross-functional collaboration?
Yeah.
Those really matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of motor claim, where we focus, it's really important to involve claim operation team from the beginning because they are in charge of change management. But normally, the culture of claim operation is risk averse, because, and they should be, because their mission is providing reliable service to customers. But any successful project we observe, there's always 1 or 2 individuals who not only understand the detailed operation, but who always challenge status quo. So I believe that this level of like 1 or 2 members assignment really define the chance of success, and this kind of assignment of the project member really matters to us.
Thank you for that. Unfortunately, also good things will need to come to an end. So let's do a round of closing statements. Gijsbert, let's start with you.
Well, I would say, as we said in the panel, I think start now, I would say. You need to start now applying it, giving it to your people. Think about how you do that, because it's not just about technology, it's also about how do I do this in the organization, how do I keep it secure, how do I use the guardrails in my organization to implement AI, and you can only learn it when you start, right? You can think about why and talk about it on flip charts, but do it. I think you need to start it now and involve the people, embed it in your process and learn from it, right? And take it further. The baby steps or the snowball, whatever analog you want to use or metaphor. That's what I would say. Start now, basically.
Thank you. Susanne?
Well, I'm very pleased that we have forums like this because I'm quite a passionate advocate for fintechs, but I'm an advocate of just trying. And I think if you don't involve the whole company, you will get stuck. And it's not down to an elite, small amount of people that will make this change happen. It's actually a social change, and you need to invite everyone in to start to get familiar with it. And if you're leaders in the room, I really hope you're putting yourself under pressure to actually get comfortable with this. I don't know if we're going to get comfortable for another 5 years, but it's important because it really will change the dimension of your business, your ability to future-proof yourself, and I think we have a responsibility to future-proof our customers, but more importantly, our employees, and I think we should take that quite seriously.
Thank you. Tsubasa?
Yeah, I just want to highlight the difference between the SaaS project and AI project. For normally SaaS project, after humans implementation, you can move to the maintenance mode, but good or bad, AI project never ends. We have like 5-year project or 6-year project. We're still discussing how we can further add value because the assumption of AI about 5 years ago and now is totally different, and our AIs keep evolving. It's also the challenging piece, but that's why the partnership between the company like us and the insurer really matters for the AI project.
Thank you. Thank you also for being here. I hope you found some inspiration and wish you a wonderful next 2 days.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.